Welcome back to the Always Aggressive podcast. I'm Corey Palm with head coach Tony Ursland. Tanner Lipsett. Fellas, I can't help but notice your backgrounds are a little different today. This is not our normal setup. You are filming on location.
Yeah, bright and early ahead of the Cliff Keen invite here in Las Vegas. So let's get this day started right.
I mean, I don't. I'm hanging out in Las Vegas's biggest sports book, which will make Jacqueline cringe like nobody's business. But it's also the quietest place in the casino, so I figured it was a great spot to record.
I dig it. I love how Tony's going for the big sky, Western vistas, and Tanner's going for the casino. We're getting it all covered here. We're saying something about the character of this show. I'm down in the meeting room in that arena. They haven't taken the chain off my desk yet, so I can't get away. But I'd love to be. I'm there with you guys in spirit. Yeah, big weekend ahead with the Cliff Keen. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. We actually haven't talked since your home duels. The holiday kind of messed with our schedule last week. Haven't talked since the home duels here. We'll start there, Tony. What did you like about your guys? They kind of seemed to come out and overall took care of business in the Boilermaker duels this year.
No doubt. Always nice to get 2 wins on the day, right? Had 2 dual opportunities, had 2 wins. So that was nice to get a couple good wins. But the other positive, we wrestled a lot of different people. I mean, if you look at the first duel versus the second, we had a lot of different people get opportunities to wrestle, and they all got their hand raised. You know what I mean? Like, in that first duel, we shut out Indianapolis UIndy, and so had 10 wins. And so to wrestle a vastly different lineup for us and give them opportunities and see them make the most of it, great. And then again, to wrestle Northern Illinois on the back end and come out strong was good. Like I said, it's just what you want. You want to keep building on the season, and that was great to see the guys make the most of their opportunity.
Coach, you said, I mean, you already spoke to this, but I think it's worth mentioning and kind of opening up again. Like, you saw over half the roster at the Boilermaker duels. You were able to get some guys some opportunities and some matches. And like you said, watching those, especially these guys being a lot of younger guys, watching them go out there, take care of business, whether they went out and got a first period pin, whether they had to go to overtime, they all went out and showed a little something different and built some of that confidence going forward as we, as we compete this weekend in an incredibly tough field.
For sure. I mean, and if you go specifically, right, I mean, Ashton Jackson coming out at 25 against UIndy, true freshman, anticipated a red shirt, but because I'm sure we'll talk about Matt wrestling in the All-Star meet that following Tuesday, we had Matt out to get him ready for that. So Ashton again, started off with, his first dual win of his career. It was just great to see, you know what I mean? Christian White getting in there, getting an overtime win, having to claw back, kind of being behind a good part of that match, but coming back through and getting a win was great. So, again, just stuff like that. Orlando Cruz was a guy who really stepped in right all day, wasn't able to go at 74. And so Orlando actually stepped in all day and was 2-0 and had a really exciting win, in the NIU duel, having a takedown at the very end of the match, to seal the win. So, yeah, I mean, to watch those young guys, many of whom will probably redshirt, again, get out there, make the most of their opportunities was a big deal. It's going to help them in their future. And then it gives us flexibility, like I said, when we're talking about creating a situation for Matt where we didn't want to send him out, to have a guy go out and do the job for us was awesome. You need those guys to be dependable for you when called upon, and they certainly were.
Another young guy that had a nice couple matches in there, or actually only one match, pardon me. Grayson Clark with another nice win at 141 pounds, continues to build that resume as a true freshman.
Yeah, he's off to a strong start. I mean, it's just no surprise. I've mentioned this before, though, but if you look at, Grayson and Joey, a couple of young guys on line, they wrestle hard and they wrestle through everything. So even though they make a mistake here or there, I mean, they're not sitting around thinking about it. They're wrestling through the next position. and they train hard, so they're in shape and they hold up. So that makes them dangerous guys and somebody who's never going to be out. So yeah, there's some mistakes. Like I said, I got to highlight that it's young guys, but they are wrestling hard through those positions, and that's certainly Grayson. And so really, yeah, just put him in good position early on in this season.
Another fun note from the duel. Both of our dual wins, well, I should say, both of our Division One dual wins, when you count the one at Journeyman and then the one over Northern Illinois. Ben Venadia was the guy that put it away both times. Nice to see a guy on the upper end that taking care of business and sealing that up for the team.
Yeah, I thought he's looked better. He got off, at Clarion. He didn't get the start that he wanted per se, but he's been trending hard in the right direction. You can see him making some adjustments in like his setup routine and some things that we talk about, and you can see that he's really making gains there. So yeah, nice and glad that you brought him up because he's trending hard in a very positive direction, which is all you want to see, right? Like, wherever you start off on week one, you just want to get better. It's about getting better until you get to March and you're doing your best wrestling. So he's definitely a guy, again, trending in the right direction.
Corey, as we're in the Thanksgiving season, after the Boilermaker duels, we got a nice we got to stretch the holiday out to Tuesday, with some cool stuff to be thankful for.
Yeah, for sure. You guys. It took a small contingent to the All-Star, NWCA All-Star Classic with, I assume that's what you're referring to.
You guessed her.
Lots to be thankful for. Thanks, in large part to the performance of the aforementioned Matt Ramos, who goes out to Pennsylvania and takes care of business. Kind of makes a big statement on a national stage, and I don't want to overstate things here, but the way the season sort of started for Matt, it felt like he needed to make that statement, and boy, did he deliver.
Yeah, I think Matt always has a sense for the moment, I guess, if you will, and you're always going to get the best out of him in those moments, which I trust that being around him for a couple of years, you're going to get the best from those kinds of situations. And again, like you said, he didn't disappoint. It was a packed house there at Rec Hall. Great, a lot of high-end wrestling on the night period. But Matt delivered a very solid performance. Very workmanlike. Got the early kick. Did a nice job controlling positions from there out. Even had to scramble hard. That scramble, I know a lot of people. There were no points scored. Boy, it was a lot of fun and high-level wrestling there at the end of the second period, where I think Matt really took a lot out of Noto after that scramble and allowed him to kind of shut the match out in the third period from there when Noto had to really kind of go for something late and gave us points. So the only thing I would nitpick, the coach in me, just wants Matt to continue to try to put up a few more points on the board, especially starting out that third period and we're in the neutral position. Come out, put yourself back on top again and start to widen the gap, more. That's the coach in me wants to see him do that. But very solid performance. And like I said, in a great environment.
To add a little historical context for the nerds out there, Matt was our fourth wrestler ever to go to the NWCA All-Star Classic, and he picks up the first win in school history for Purdue at the event, a 10-2 major decision over previously number one ranked Anthony Noto of Lock Haven. Noto finished fourth at the national championships last year, had a very exciting match with Spencer Lee, turned him, I believe, from top before Matty got his hands on him in the semifinals. But now, while this match, Coach, doesn't count on paper, it's technically an exhibition match.
Right.
How important is having the Boilermakers represented there, number one? Number two, picking up that win for the sake of perception, if nothing else.
Yeah, no, it matters to the athletes. You saw everybody who competed, Matt included, how hard they fought and how they conducted themselves. So I think it matters, anytime you put your foot on the line, especially against elite competition, boy, you want to do well. And so it's important for those guys. And again, for Matt, to build momentum, you know what I mean? And to kind of get himself off on the track that he expects himself, expects for himself this year, I thought was a really big deal, man. And you might see that guy down the road again, right, in a key moment. So it's never wasted to be out there and competing and get a feel for those guys, because especially if you're going to see them, for the national championship, you want to know how you want to approach it. So I thought it was great. It served a lot of purposes. We may not see Noto again, right? I mean, he's not in our league, and I don't know if he's going to be anywhere we're going to compete. So that was valuable. And then, right, gathering momentum, I think, is huge for any athlete.
Well, I do want to jump in, Tanner. I know you're absolutely right. It doesn't count. If you look at the win-loss records of every man that competed that day, they don't count. But it did matter when it comes to the rankings, because Matty jumped back over Noto, even though Noto's technically undefeated and Matt's 7-1 on the season. So it doesn't officially count, but you can't. That doesn't mean it didn't happen, and it's a very peculiar thing of sports in general. This is not the only sport that type of thing takes place, but it did have some effect for whatever value those rankings hold, in November, December.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Like I said, it's not wasted. I mean, certainly you want to get through it healthy. Like preserving your health is the first priority. But man, it helps you in so many other ways, and to get a feel and to compete at a high level against somebody you're going to see in a meaningful moment down the road. I mean, it's fun, and it's another building block for the program too. I mean, right? Like there's little milestones that you want for your program, and this is another one for us, right? I mean, we desire all Americans and national championships and high team finishes and those things, but also, man, these things I think just signify another growth in the program, another milestone of where we're trying to go, and again, that's important for us.
Matty back up to number 2 in the country via Intermat, number 3 in the country via Flow. Staying on the channel of Matt Ramos for a second, and I think this doesn't just speak to Matt, it speaks to a lot of our team. If you go through the national rankings right now, you see that, Matty, what did you say, 7-1, Corey?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's got easily the most matches of anybody in the top 10. And you go through all the weights, and you have, you look, here we are, we're, almost a month into the season, and you've got several guys who haven't competed yet. You've got other guys that have competed, once, twice, maybe 3 times. Matty's really letting it fly. He's putting his toe on the line against, all comers. He's not necessarily wrestling to protect anything. He's out there just trying to build as big and large and outstanding a resume as he can.
Yeah, and I think that's hugely important. I mean, that goes to growth, right? Now I'll talk about that. I maybe go off the rails a bit, but when Matt
you
did
off the rails on the podcast,
yeah, crazy. But truly, like when you do some things, and Matt didn't win the national title last year, but he had a significant win, and made the national finals. And then all summer you're talking about that win with people, right? I mean, all kinds of people want to document it. There's interviews, there's video, there's different things that come with that. And then as a coach, all you really want to do is get that guy back hooked on to let's get better, let's advance, and not get stuck on the past, and when people are constantly asking you about the past, right, as a coach, you just want to move on. And so I think this is important for Matt moving on, not protecting anything, Yeah, you're not going to have a big season now. You already lost, that's behind you. So let's worry about protecting something, that you don't have, and let's just focus on getting better. And so really anything that serves that purpose for me as a coach with him, I think I'm all for it. And that's where the All-Star match, does that for us. It does that for Matt. Like we're just moving forward. It's the next thing, and we're getting better, and we're going to figure it out so that when we get to March, we're ready, and we're not protecting something or just trying to get through and just win, but hope we get there and have the 1 seed. Now we're getting better and we're wrestling, and hey, we're going to be ready when it's time to be ready. And that's, as a coach, where I kind of want to see Matt always moving.
That brings up. Sorry, T. I want to jump in here. That brings up.
No, all means.
and it's probably a question for Matt, but he's not on the podcast right now. So I'm going to ask you, Tony.
You want me to go wake him up?
No, he needs to sleep.
Okay, just checking.
I know his game. What you just said is it's a wonderful approach to sports, but it requires a lot of trust. It requires so much trust in the student athlete to put in the coach, the staff. Hey, we've got the big picture handled. You do the thing in front of you. We'll take care of everything else. To have that level of trust from it, and trust is a two-way street. But to receive that kind of trust from student athletes, how important is that?
No, it's huge because it's tricky, right? I mean, it's tricky. You can't assume anything with kids, right? And it can be damaged so quickly too, right? I mean, so it requires consistency in your actions and follow through. I mean, it requires a lot day in and day out, and that's why it's so hard to build. And that's why once you get it, man, protect it, right? Now, fortunately for a guy like Matt, he has a real he desires that relationship with coaches. I mean, that's something that he is just looking for. That's something that he really desires and wants and needs, right? So he works just as hard at cultivating that too. I mean, you think about some young people don't think about it hardly at all. You know, they come and they go and they do their thing, but that relationship doesn't get built maybe in the way that you would want all the time. But Matt makes it a lot easier because of how he is. He wants that relationship. Man, he very grateful kid. Like, you coach him up and he's telling you thankful all the time. You know what I mean? So that just goes to who he is. And I think, that's why he's a great leader and example for this team too, because other guys should see about a guy who's accomplished a few things, right? In his career, he's won a bunch of state titles. He's won a world championship. He had this tremendous win that kind of brought him some notoriety. But he's still, still grateful for what he's doing and excited about it. When you're coaching and working with him, he values that relationship that you just spoke about, Corey. And I think that's a piece that really does make him maybe a little bit more different than other guys.
Yeah, he's a pretty special kid. I think when people ask about him, the statement that I always come up with is he's a better kid than he is wrestler, and that's saying something because he's a pretty good wrestler.
Yeah. So and that you want that relationship with all of your guys, though, Corey, right? That's something we do at Purdue. I mean, we talk about it a lot. And we value it too. So that's something that we will always keep working with all of our student athletes. I almost just say it now. I hope some of our guys are listening because they'll understand, hey, value that as well. Make that effort like Matt does. Because as you said, it's a two-way street.
Yep.
Absolutely. We kind of teased this a little bit. And you talk about being ready and you talk about preparation, Coach. We are ready and prepared for a really impressive field out here in Las Vegas this weekend.
Yeah, very, very tough, very deep. I mean, and it's always that way, but maybe even more so this year when you talk about over half the ranked wrestlers are going to be in this field here. So it's tough. And the thing that what I was laughing about last night is, obviously Parker Filius finishes, as an All-American last year, has a great tournament. Man, he was wrestling for 7th and 8th out here, and he wrestled D'Amelio, who was his placing match at Nationals.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So you are wrestling for 7th and 8th, no less, out here. But it's the same guy you're going to see for All-American honors at the NCAA championships, 3-4 months down the road. And so that's just how deep it is and the quality of wrestling that's out here. But again, it's another step in preparation for where we need to go. And these guys need to see what it is and where we can be better, coming out of this tournament.
Matt Ramos, the number 1 seed, 125 pounds. We talked about load management. There were some other guys that were their teams are here, but they are not. So he's up at the 1. He's gonna get to see some action there. A couple other ranked guys of note. Joey Blaze at 157 pounds picked up a seed. I believe he's the 9 seed. Brody Bowman with a seed at 174 pounds, and Stoney Buell with a seed at 165. Nice to see some of the young guys getting a little bit of recognition there, Coach.
No, absolutely. And then that that should continue to happen, right, as we face good competition. And we feel very good about those guys, all incidentally, right, appearing in rank other places as well. So, yeah, it's nice to see some of the other young talent, starting to kind of make their mark and move up. And you want to see that continue, make the most of these opportunities, because that's the wonderful thing about this tournament, man, is so many opportunities everywhere to see good people and get your hand raised. So that's, again, they've put themselves in a good position, but now, hey, let's make the most of this position we're in.
Absolutely. Resumes are definitely made out here in the desert, and it's going to be great to see all of our young kids have that opportunity. Speaking of the young kids, had to leave Grayson Clark at home. True freshman Cole Solome is going to get his or Salome. Man, I'm never going to get that right, Cole. I'm sorry, buddy.
Salome?
I'll figure it out. If you say so. There's no way I'm trusting you on a name. Let's put that first and foremost. There is a 0% chance that I'm going with your pronunciation. But Cole, regardless, will get his. Say that again.
I said that hurts, man. Even at 7 a.m. from Las Vegas, that hurts.
But it's true. Facts aren't insults, man.
Okay, I get it. All right, keep going.
All right.
Go point, man.
I guess, tell us a little bit about why Grayson had to stay behind and Cole getting his first big opportunity here.
Yeah. Well, obviously Grayson, the day before or 2 days out from flying, wasn't feeling as good. Thought he was going to bounce. Actually, told me on Tuesday, no, I'm starting to bounce, coach. I'm feeling better. I'm going to be ready to go. Showed up yesterday in the room, get a drill and a workout in before we head for the airport. And just, you could tell he wasn't himself. He wasn't feeling good. And so we had to make a decision that, he wasn't going to be ready, and we had to give somebody else an opportunity. And so we just decided, through a lot of factors that Cole is a guy who hasn't wrestled as much yet, and we have events planned for other guys on the roster, that this would be a good opportunity for him. So on short notice, we're getting him a plane ticket, and then he's out here with us, and he's going to get a great opportunity to kind of let it fly and see where he's at, get a sense of what really good wrestling looks like. So, yeah, excited for Cole, disappointed for Grayson, but, Grayson did everything he was supposed to do. He got ready to wrestle. From this standpoint, this is what I talked to him about yesterday, because how disappointed he was. He did everything he was supposed to do. He wasn't feeling great, but he still got ready to wrestle. That's what wrestlers do. You get ready to compete, you get ready to wrestle. And then as coaches, we got to make decisions. And I just didn't feel like it served him best to go compete, in this field right now with the way he looked. So again, he's at home feeling better, and he'll have more opportunities down the road. And we're excited for Cole and what he has this weekend.
How much does it speak to Cole in the fact that, you call on him the day before and his weight's in a place where he's ready, and he's like, put me in, coach. Well, I'm ready.
Yeah, that's what's awesome, right? Again, he was ready for the opportunity. Some people, when you're not the guy, right? Like, we're into the season now, 3 weeks, and the lineup's a little bit solidified right now. Who's been getting, most of the matches? Staying ready as a backup in wrestling, man, that requires a lot of discipline, because, as you said, you got to keep your weight in range. There's no guarantee you're going to compete, but should that opportunity come, you got to be within range of your weight with your weight class, and he was. So that's awesome to see a young guy, again, who's more likely to redshirt than not. Things happen, but that's the plan he's kind of on now. He had his weight ready. He's here, and he's going to make the most of it. So he's learning quickly for a young guy what habits that you gotta build so you can make the most of these opportunities, and that's where you're excited for Cole.
Anybody else, coach, just off the top of your head, that you're extra excited to compete this weekend out here in Vegas?
No, man, it's all of them, right? It's 10 guys, it's 10 guys, and I'm excited to watch all of them. Again, it's a very tough field, but you say that with excitement, man. Like I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of big matches and a lot of opportunities. So I'm excited for all 10. You know, sometimes you go into a duel and you're heavily favored at these weights, and you're not favored at the others, right? But man, here you're going to see a lot. And so again, I'm excited for all 10, and we're going to watch all 10 real close.
Corey, you got anything else on Vegas?
Yeah, I just to reiterate, to put more weight behind the statements, just looking through the teams. I'm going through, the top 10 or 12 expected finishes here. And as you said, Tony, not everybody's going to bring everybody. So that's understandable. But it's Nebraska, Michigan, NC State, Iowa State, Ohio State, Oklahoma State, Cornell, Oregon State, Northern Iowa, Arizona State, South Dakota State, Virginia Tech, North Carolina. Like, we are down in the Navy, Maryland, Purdue, Air Force. Campbell's going to have some guys. Stanford's going to be there. I mean, it is, you can't, a lot of these weight classes, you can't help but face ranked guys.
Real fast.
Where you're at.
Yeah.
Dude, there's going to be All-Americans at this tournament that don't place, probably. You know what I mean? Like, I was laughing. Like, you think of Parker. He's in the 7th and 8th place match. And that's who we saw at NCAAs. That's how deep this is, and even more so this year. So, again, just excited to watch these guys compete and understand there's a big challenge here. But, man, like, anytime it's a challenge, it's an opportunity, and that's how you got to look at it. And you gotta go out there and let it fly, man.
One thing we were talking about, too, before we started recording, while we were waiting for Tanda to finish his granola bar, is the logistical side of this. Yeah, we're coming from the Eastern time zone. We're getting to Vegas, so you have to adjust your travel accordingly, because these guys' sleep schedules, which you preach to them, guys, go to bed, get your rest. It's one of the most important things you do. Their bodies have to adjust to a 3-hour time change for half a week. What are some of the things that you do to try and help them adjust?
Coming out a couple days ahead, right? Is the first. So we're out here on a Wednesday. We don't compete until a Friday. You get in a little bit. I don't want to say it wasn't late, but we got into our hotel at 9:15. That's it's midnight our time. So guys are ready to hit the rack. You know what I mean? So you start getting them on that schedule as soon as you can. We're going to get them up here shortly. We're doing this obviously very early in the morning. But the guys, we're going out for breakfast here at 8:30, and then you just get them on a regular practice schedule. Team workout at 4, be a team meeting tonight, and then again hit the rack so that we're up tomorrow morning, heading over at 6:45. So it's just trying to get that routine established and adjusted as quick as you can. So nothing much changes except for that first day. You try to keep them up maybe a little longer, so you're not going to bed super early and then waking up this morning super early. So
Right.
That's just trying to, get the routine established 2 days out going into competition.
Yeah, we'll get over to Gold Rush Wrestling Academy here this afternoon for our workout. Go see our good friend Chase Pammy. He takes great care of us out here. We've been working out at his spot, every time we come out here for the last 3 or 4 years, Tony?
Yeah. He always treats us well. He's got a nice club. Kind of a more quiet space. So we're not over at the venue yet. It's just we can get away and then focus on our business.
Get a little heat as well.
That's right.
There you go.
Get a little sweat in.
Yeah, get a little sweat in. So, Corey, man, I mean, there's a million things we could talk about in Vegas, but I think we're locked and loaded here for the weekend.
I love it. What time does the first start flying tomorrow, and how can people watch from afar?
9 a.m. Pacific time, so noon Eastern time. Everything is on Flow Wrestling. The tournament brackets and everything will be up at Flow Arena. Our main man William Sule will be have the fingers flying on the Twitter keyboard and making sure people have updates and know what's going on in different matches. But it should be a great tournament. We'll have a nice group of parents out here to support their kids and fans and whatnot. There's always some random people that we see. Our good friend Mike Houts pops his head in, almost every year at one point when we're out here. So, should be a lot of really, really great wrestling this weekend.
Awesome. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see the performance, and I know you guys got them ready to go. So good luck, and we will leave it there for this week. We'll be back next week to talk about exactly what happened and look ahead here on the Always Aggressive podcast. Boiler up.